So, good morning. I'm James from Splunk, the new kind of big business unit inside of Cisco. And I'm going to hear from my really good friend Mike in product management in a second. I thought I'd start with the origins of Splunk. So this is a quote from Eric Swan, one of the co-founders back in 2003. They were running big infrastructure and they were really struggling to go and manage all of that. And really just what they wanted was a search engine for the data center to be able to go and find the word error. And that's where Splunk started, the word spelunking, to really go diving into data and go and figure that out. But the core reason why we're still here is exactly the same, trying to go and give you complete visibility into your infrastructure. We partnered with Oxford Economics earlier this year, and they went and did a survey of the Global 2000. And they found the cost of downtime was over $400 billion. So around $200 million per organization was lost in terms of productivity due to downtime. The top reason for that was not anything complicated. It was misconfiguration of IT equipment that brought in complexity, that created an error, that meant people were then scrabbling to go and find out what happened. Lots of different reasons for it, but the financial impact of downtime is huge. We even saw the stock price. One major public outage could have up to a 9% impact on the overall stock price. For me though, as a technologist, what I find with downtime, it starts to bring lack of trust. You start to doubt yourself. Do I do this next upgrade? What do I do next? How do I go and collaborate? So downtime isn't just what it costs you in the moment, it's actually the slowing down of your overall innovation velocity, because you're not quite sure how you can go faster. If that next rollout is going to be successful, when I get something wrong, how do I recover from it? And so what we're really focusing on with the whole concept of observability, how do we fix problems? How do we improve reliability? And ultimately, how do you go and get better customer experiences? And the only way you can do that, and I think observability is a really overloaded term, is to just be able to see everything in your digital infrastructure to work out what those key signals are that I need to do something about, and ultimately go and start to go into more predictive, I'm going to spot something before it happens, and then I'm going to figure out, do I do something about it now, in an hour, in a day, in a week, or maybe it's just a problem for future James sometime in the future. Now, as a technologist, I love what technology can do, but I remember back at university, I was taught there's a database, there was a front end, and eventually I was being taught there was a middleware. Now we just have an overwhelming choice of what we can do. So we can make some incredible experiences to the marketplace, to our consumers, but the technology stack of today is getting more and more complicated. I think you've seen the theme of this week with connectivity, with infrastructure. It's incredible. But that starts to bring in a really complex environment. So I'm going to invite Mike onto the stage. He's going to take us through what we're doing as a combined Splunk, AppDynamics, Cisco company to be able to go and solve some of these problems. So Mike, come on stage.
Thank you, James. And it was absolutely the case that with these complex systems, it was very hard to troubleshoot problems across these separate data silos. But that's true until now. With Splunk Observability, now supercharged with AppDynamics, we actually have the one solution in the market that can really offer unified observability across any environment and any stack for the entire enterprise. And over the next bit of time here, I'm going to have a chance to show you how we do it. It's not just about having the best tool for hybrid application monitoring, which we have with AppDynamics, or about the best tool for cloud-native application monitoring, which we have as well with Observability Cloud. It actually requires more than that. It also needs to be rooted in a common data platform, one that can be used across your entire organization, which we have with the Splunk platform. This allows all your teams to collaborate together on the same data. This enables smarter and a number of times as well cheaper insights. It's not a loosely stitched together set of tools. It's offered through a unified experience, one that actually can correlate related data with contextual links that you can follow as part of a troubleshooting journey. And single sign-on, so that you have a streamlined experience as you're using the tools. All this is to the service of helping you triage problems faster. And all this is overseen by IT Service Intelligence. Service Intelligence, or ITSI, provides a bird's eye view of the entire environment. It actually helps align IT and the business through business service monitoring, which can connect underlying IT systems to key business metrics. It also helps you reduce noise by grouping related alerts together so the teams can focus on what matters. And finally, it actually uses embedded AI and ML to actually predict outages before they happen and help you resolve them as quickly as possible. But the magic happens when you actually get all these tools working together. And that's how teams are able to achieve informed, prioritized, and effective troubleshooting. Ultimately, what this can do is it can turn troubleshooting that might take hours and reduce it down to under 3 minutes. And that's what we're going to see as we dive in deeper here today. But of course, Splunk Observability doesn't exist in a vacuum either. It actually aggregates data from anywhere, and it's integrated with a broad set of tools and technologies. And that includes the Cisco ecosystem. And I'm incredibly excited today to actually announce the integration between ITSI and Thousand Eyes. So you can actually correlate network and application events together, isolate problems, and understand their impact across your environment. Now, Splunk has been doing this for years, but we're incredibly excited that now we're doing it as part of Cisco, and we're integrating it across the Cisco ecosystem. And I want to take a second and show you what it looks like in practice.
This new integration of Splunk ITSI and Thousand Eyes offers visibility into network, owned or unowned, and application performance, all from one place. Imagine you're managing an online store, a critical component of your business. Splunk ITSI gives you a bird's eye view of your entire environment. Suddenly, you notice a disruption in the digital experience node. This could spell trouble, especially if it impacts customer access. But is the problem in your applications, infrastructure, network? ITSI gives you all of that in one view. You can see a dedicated analysis for both the web and network layers. Here, we see the web layer KPIs show minimal disruptions, but a deeper dive into the network layer reveals significant packet loss. This means that data is being lost somewhere in the network as it travels to your site. Still in Splunk ITSI, we can dig in further, and it looks like there's a concentration of issues originating from San Jose, California, which we know is a key market of our online traffic. That makes this a high priority. One click gets us into Thousand Eyes, where we can quickly pinpoint the disruption to a particular device within the internet service provider's infrastructure. Now look, the bad news is that you have to wait for them to fix this, but the good news is that you were able to determine all of this in minutes without wasting time in costly war rooms. And your team can now focus on other priorities while monitoring the issue until it resolves.
That was exciting. Now, I want to talk about the 3 reasons why customers choose Splunk Observability for their observability solution. The first is we're able to offer complete business visibility across any stack and any environment. Next, we actually help them with earlier detection so they can identify and investigate and resolve business impacting issues as quickly as possible. And finally, we give them better control of their data so they can manage data efficiently and ultimately manage costs. First, we actually bring together IT operations, engineering, and security teams with shared data and shared context, so they can understand how a problem anywhere in their environment actually affects their business. Think about a network issue that causes a gradual issue across different applications, ultimately leading to an increased error rate and ultimately reduced business on a company's website. How are you going to troubleshoot a problem like this that spreads across multiple teams in your environment? Well, you need to get beyond just monitoring the health of your specific IT assets. You actually need to understand and monitor the business processes that underlie them. So you can alert on impact, say a drop in sales, an increase in abandonment rate, or changes in user engagement, which we can enable through AppDynamics and Observability Cloud with capabilities like our business transaction monitoring, user journeys, and custom metrics. Ultimately, this gives you visibility into how users ultimately use your application, and it actually lets you see how performance issues affect them and affect their behavior. With this kind of visibility, you can actually validate investments you've made, and you can prioritize where your team should be working, and ultimately, what code you should be writing to optimize your business and address issues as they occur. I want to talk about a couple recent and new innovations in this area that we're incredibly excited about. The first, which we just saw, is the ITSI and Thousand Eyes integration. This actually allows you to bring together data from the network and the application together. Again, so you can isolate problems and reduce noise and troubleshoot more effectively. But additionally, we've been building integrations between Observability Cloud and AppDynamics as well. Things like single sign-on that'll allow you to have a streamlined experience and a common look and feel across our applications. We've developed Log Observer Connect, which actually allows you to get from AppDynamics in context to logs related to a business transaction that you might be looking at, so you can troubleshoot effectively. We previously announced this integration for Splunk Cloud, and now we've extended it to Splunk Enterprise as well. And finally, I want to talk about observability views in Splunk Cloud, which allow you to bring not just observability real-time metrics, but additionally purpose-built views from observability, like a service map, directly into your SPL-based dashboards. This can allow you to have a complete view of your environment and troubleshoot more effectively. Next, I want to talk about earlier detection and how we help teams actually diagnose issues and spend less time in war rooms. Now, this begins with how easy we make it to search and analyze logs, and for your teams to actually find actionable insights from that data as quickly as possible. But it goes further. It also includes the ability to do real-time detection and guided investigation aided by AI. It includes the ability to tame alert storms, ultimately group related alerts together so you can focus in on the issues that matter the most. And furthermore, actually be able to discover unknown or unexpected events through things like anomaly detection and have adaptive thresholds that allow your system to adjust to a changing environment. This even extends to areas of business security risk. For example, being able to identify running vulnerabilities in your applications. This allows you to actually prioritize the security incidents that may matter the most and fix them as quickly as possible. If you think about the solution, it's really designed to help you accelerate root cause analysis across your applications and your infrastructure in a way that actually helps you optimize the issues that affect your business the most. So there's several areas I want to talk about here that we're very excited about. The first is KPI drift detection in ITSI. This is part of our extension of ML and AI capabilities within our ITSI platform. And drift detection allows you to observe some of those either sudden or slow emerging trends that can impact your system. Think about the gradual latency increase in an application. It may not directly trigger an alert. It may not show up on anyone's radar. But slowly the application is not performing well over a period of weeks or even months. Drift detection can determine things like this and alert you to it so that you can resolve that issue and turn it around for your users. We also now have a dedicated content pack for AppDynamics with ITSI. This allows you to bring together information about applications, infrastructure, and database from AppDynamics into the ITSI platform. Ultimately, that gives you a more complete view so you can troubleshoot issues more quickly. Next, with AppDynamics, we actually have now integrated the secure app application with Splunk, particularly with Splunk Enterprise Security. So I mentioned the ability of looking at runtime vulnerabilities. Secure app actually provides that capability. It's able to look at what's actually running in your environment. Not theoretical, but really, what apps and services are you actually running that may contain live vulnerabilities that you should be concerned about? We can now bring that information and bring it directly into the Splunk platform and make it available in enterprise security. So your security teams can see it and take action on it immediately. And ultimately work together with engineering to prioritize a fix for those issues. We've extended the capabilities in AppDynamics in anomaly detection as well. In particular, we've added anomaly detection for infrastructure environments in addition to applications, which again, can give you a more complete view and allow your system to automatically adjust to changes that are emerging. But I think the thing we're most excited about is the AI Assistant for Observability Cloud. AI Assistant for Observability Cloud was designed to help you fix problems faster and ultimately interact with your system in natural language. It can actually analyze your observability data for you, summarizing what's going on, and guide you towards potential solutions to a problem. Now, this is incredibly exciting, and ultimately, it can capture some of the knowledge that may exist in 1 to 2 individuals in your organization and make it possible for anyone to troubleshoot even the hardest problems very quickly. I want to show you what that looks like. Let's jump ahead and check it out.
Triage with Splunk Observability is very fast. When there's a problem, Splunk APM will automatically highlight issues and make it easy to deep dive into corresponding metrics. Clicking through to Tag Spotlight allows us to further review metrics sorted by related tags. And here we can see that all of our errors have been tagged as root cause errors. It also shows that they're associated with one version of our code. This is good. We can be pretty confident that this is the source. But let's also see how it's impacting our customers. Trace Analyzer shows us that they're encountering a 401 invalid request error. And clicking on the logs shows us that the payment has failed due to an error with an invalid API key. So just like that, no war rooms required, we can quickly determine that this version of code must have introduced a bad API key into our environment and needs to be rolled back. But what if we could do it even faster? Now, with AI Assistant and Observability Cloud, we can simplify our troubleshooting even further. Let's ask the AI Assistant to investigate the issue for us. The AI Assistant has determined that the issue is related to the charge endpoint of the payment service, and that version 350.10 of the payment service is impacted specifically. It's also telling us that the payment service error is due to an invalid API token, and it suggests a configuration or authentication issue with the external payment processing service. This is the same conclusion that we reached with our manual investigation, but we got here twice as fast, and all we had to do was ask.
Again, super exciting. I think AI is really changing the observability landscape, and we're really excited to be integrating that deeply across our product line. So the next area I want to talk about is how we offer better control over your data, and ultimately the ability to manage data volumes and manage cost. The foundation of this capability ultimately boils down to having a flexible telemetry pipeline. And really, the ability to manage data as it comes in and route it based on its value. For example, putting critical data into a real-time tier, so you can be alerted on it immediately when something goes wrong. Or passing less important or time-sensitive data into an archive tier, where you can access it if you need it, but it may not, but it can be stored at a lower cost. It also includes being able to filter data that you don't want, so you pay for just what you need. And finally, it includes an ability to transform data from one format to another. Think about logs, which are high bandwidth, incredibly informative. But being able to convert logs into real-time metrics actually gives you an ability to summarize critical information and then take advantage of things like real-time alerting. These are all things we enable through a flexible telemetry pipeline that we have across our platform. The other critical aspect of having control over your data is helping you avoid vendor lock-in. And our platform is designed to be open telemetry native. Open telemetry is a major movement within the industry that is designed around open source solutions for collecting data and standardizing that. By investing in open telemetry, we can actually allow our customers to instrument their environments once, using essentially open source and open standards, taking advantage of the power of the community and the innovations that community is developing, but also having confidence that they're using a standardized set of tools, and they're not locked into any one vendor and how they're collecting data. These are some of the important ways Splunk is enabling you to have control over the data that you send us through a data pipeline, but also giving you an open standards platform through which to collect it. And there's a few innovations I want to talk about in this area as well that we're incredibly excited about. The first one here is archive metrics. So archive metrics actually builds on a functionality that we had with a data pipeline that allows you to manage metrics as they're sent to Splunk Observability. So that includes the ability to aggregate metrics, filter out unwanted metrics. And with archive metrics now, we've added a routing capability. So you can separate out your real-time metrics that you need instant alerting on from less time-sensitive metrics that you can store in an archive tier and restore if you need them. The powerful thing about the archive metrics is they cost 1/10 of our real-time metrics, which give you an important knob to manage and trade off the value of this data and the amount of access you need to it. The other feature I'm really excited about is metrics usage analytics. Metrics usage analytics actually gives you visibility into how those metrics are used by your teams. Are they accessed through charts and detectors? Are your observability teams actually using them to get better visibility into your environment? Or are they sitting unused within our tools? By providing that insight, you actually now have control over how you would manage that data. Do you want to move it to an archive tier? Do you want to filter it out entirely? This gives you an important means, an important set of visibility with which to take control of that environment and manage costs. And the last thing I want to touch on briefly is the edge processor and ingest processor, which actually give you a way of managing log volumes, and in particular, routing and even transforming logs as they're sent to the Splunk platform, so you can control costs and access data efficiently. One of the key observability use cases enabled through ingest and edge processor is the ability to actually transform logs into real-time metrics. Again, this helps you actually put the data in the format that's most efficient so that you can manage how much you're storing, but also have the most useful observability data at your fingertips. And for all the reasons I just talked about, and many more, Splunk's been identified as a leader by a large number of organizations. We've won not one, but 12 awards for our observability solutions. But that's not really what matters. What matters is that our customers are actually seeing results. They're using Splunk Observability to monitor their most critical systems in their most complex environments across their entire enterprise. One of those customers is actually Engel, Austria. And I'm very excited to welcome James back on stage, along with Manfred and Richard from Engel, to tell you about how they're using Splunk Observability.
Well done, buddy. Really good.
Hello.
So I think the thing I've learned from listening to that kind of presentation is IT operations observability has got so much more complicated when I first started in the industry 20-something years ago. We've got two amazing guests here. Maybe Manfred, we'll start with you. Can you tell you a bit about Engel and what you do there, please?
Hello, my name is Manfred Rönesl, and I'm working for the company Engel since almost 32 years, and I have to deal with backend infrastructures, starting from the network layer, which is the glue that holds everything together, up to the lower boundary of legacy IT applications and also cloud-native applications. Let me tell you a little bit about Engel. The world of Engel is injection molding. We are one of the leading injection molding machine manufacturers, and we provide solutions for our customers' plastics applications.
Pretty big job you've got, and quite a complicated, huge amount of infrastructure that you're looking at. So you're looking at kind of that overall picture, but Richard, I think you're much more into the detail. What do you do at Engel?
Yeah, I'm more the developer guy to the infrastructure guy here. Me and my team, one part of it is taking care that our developers have the tools and the possibility to get the job done, I would say. Yeah.
That's nice. We've got two bits of the party. We've got infrastructure and we've got kind of the developer side. So we've got that nice healthy friction. You know, it's infrastructure's fault, it's app's fault, and we'll see if we can sort this out over this conversation. In the keynote yesterday, G2 talked a lot about digital resilience as this kind of imperative now businesses have to go and think about. It's not just about monitoring, it's not just about security, it's not just about infrastructure, it is how do we go and provide a resilient service. So resilience can mean different things to different people. I'd love, Manfred, maybe you to start with, what does digital resilience mean for you and for Engel?
Well, digital resilience is the art of enabling business continuity in an increasingly value chain that is depending on digital results, basically. And we have to prepare for all kinds of disruptions, either for cyber attacks or data loss attacks, or maybe we have other operational issues. And this is the topic we have to cope with and deal with.
Because Engel, being a manufacturing organization, you think you're mostly focusing on production, machinery, but IT is absolutely critical. What is the consequence of a failure to Engel on the IT infrastructure?
Can you explain that question clearly?
If something goes wrong in IT infrastructure, what's the impact to the business?
Well, the impact is that we have business disruptions. Yeah? We also have production sites all over the world. We are producing machines, and the value of IT is that we enable these productions, and we don't disrupt it.
So really that cost of downtime really impacts. It's not
cost
just IT,
downtime,
you can't get your email, it's infrastructure, it's the service, it's actually the core of the business starts to go wrong. Richard, from the application side, how do you think about digital resilience?
Well, depends a bit on the part we have. We have three main parts. One side is our internal application, like the electrical engineer, the mechanical engineer, and all the people they try to build the machines we produce. And then we have our customer portal, where the customer itself can have a look at their machines, at the matrix of the machine itself. And then the machine, the data from the machine, the edge devices we provide for our customers to get the data from there to our customer portal through the whole layers. That's a lot of data we have to deal with, a lot of different data, different retention time for the data, and a lot of data.
So lots of complexity, kind of OT, IT, network, a bit of pretty much everything that we've heard about this week,
exactly.
You've got to go and think about. And so I think we've defined then digital resilience is encompassing everything that is part of Engel, and I really liked the business continuity kind of lens you put on it. Delivering IT is really critical. Who are your internal stakeholders, Manfred?
Well, we have many different stakeholders. It starts from the administrators that really need the Splunk solution, to drill down problems more effectively and spend less time with problem solving and have more time to rather work on innovative projects. It goes further with the IT service owners that would like to get some metrics about the service availability, some KPIs, how they can manage the service. It goes further to our chief technology officers because they would like to measure the impact of IT and the value of IT to the whole process chain we have at Angle.
Which of those internal stakeholders puts the most amount of pressure on you?
Well, I would say it comes from the CFO because it's always a cost component that have to be considered. Yeah?
Yeah, so always justifying the cost, why we're doing this overall. How about you, Richard? Who do you focus on from your internal stakeholders?
Mostly on the developers. I mean, they have to find the errors. I mean, if in the whole system any package get lost or any error occurred, we have to find them, and in the best case before the customer recognize it or our internal users. But I think we have to have the management as well inside the boat, because if you don't have the management with you, then it's pretty hard to get the other people as well to the system and bring them, spread the tool out so that everybody can use it and the different departments can then work together. But it's for the single person as well important that they play with us and bring the whole company to one line.
So, a really wide spectrum of stakeholders, everything from developers to the CFOs. That's quite a lot of complexity on how you have to go and engage with almost the entire company to show how you're helping. You almost started to get onto that predictive side. How do we show a developer that something's about to happen? I congratulate you on having to deal with all of that. I feel exhausted just thinking about it. You mentioned a CFO. A CFO loves a metric. When you think about infrastructure monitoring, from your perspective, what do you think about in terms of what metrics do you go and track?
Well, we track the service availability, we track the uptime, we track the latencies. We have our production sites all over the world, and we also provide our legacy IT application to all our production sites over the world, and we always have to consider latencies around the world, especially with China. There's a special consideration also because of the big wall, and this is the topic that we want to make the applications available for everybody of the users to love them. And if there's some problem with performance, then the first topic is that people don't like the applications. And so we have to consider latency and the metrics and the bandwidth and also the performance of our applications.
So you're really kind of showing the interdependency between kind of networks, latency, geographical spread on the applications to kind of bring that visibility together. What's your favorite metric? If you were to log in the morning, what's the one that you care about the most? Well,
the most important is that all services are up and running.
See a nice green.
Yeah, everything green. Everything is green. So this is the most important step.
How about you, Richard? From a developer kind of perspective, app side, what metrics do you really focus on?
Well, I like green as well.
Green as well.
That's a pretty hard question because we have so many metrics, I would say, and we started with, put the whole metrics we have and all the logs and all that stuff into Splunk and then try out what we really need. It turns out that it's really hard work to get the right metrics to the right place for the right flow and to provide really the right data for finding the errors afterwards. That's really a huge thing, and we're started in the middle, and it will every time continue. I think that's a never-ending story. Get the right one.
And one of the things you were talking about when we were speaking yesterday is you didn't believe in having every single metric under the sun, and you're trying to be much more selective and even retiring metrics. So how do you think about getting the right metrics and even assessing them, see do we need that metric anymore?
Well, in the first place, we did for Kubernetes, it's a good example. We had the Prometheus in place, and if we get Splunk in the house, then we switched the metric. It's pretty easy with Prometheus. You switch it then to bring it to Splunk. And there comes a lot of metrics with it. And then over the time we reduced, and meanwhile we have pretty less metrics inside that we really use. But to find that out, it's a lot of work, and you have to have use cases. You have to have the use case, okay, what do I really want to see, and find out then what I need, what metrics do I need. So it's, I think there is no best way. I think you have to try it out yourself.
So a journey of understanding, and I think that's,
exactly.
You make a really important point. The technology can only help so far. It's also focusing on what use cases we are, bringing teams together, what's important, what are we going to make a decision of, rather than just trying to get everything and then work it out afterwards. So definitely a takeaway is observability is definitely a journey. So onto the Splunk portfolio. So Mike did an amazing job of showing the kind of this broad portfolio to capture everything. Manfred, what out of the observability portfolio do you use from us?
Well, we started with the Splunk core. We had the use case that we had no clear overview of our firewalls, and we have different vendors that provide the firewalls, and we wanted to have them all in a common index, and this was not able to realize with all the products, so we started with Splunk Observability, and the network team was very lucky to have now the vision and the view on all the error logs and information from the firewalls they need. So we started to continue the journey and brought in all other network components from routers and switches. And then we also started to engage our information security team with enterprise security, because they can build upon the data from the network, which we already collected. Then Richard joined us, because we also see there's a good opportunity to engage all the developers and share the information with them. And this turned out to be very successful. And we continued with ITSI, because we wanted to gain more insights in the service intelligence. And also what we've seen before with the service tree, to have all level of stakeholders, the ones that are only interested in the gauges and values that we provide with the dashboards, and the others, the technicians, that would like to drill down the problem directly to the cause.
So you're really almost starting at kind of foundational visibility and kind of maturing up into some service insights, and then we might touch on a bit more predictive side of things, that journey you're going on.
Yeah.
The really good news is, if any of you got Cisco firewalls, or any type of Cisco devices, we now have over 70 gold standard adapters to be able to go and take data from Cisco infrastructure into Splunk in a really easy kind of gold standard first class way. So definitely look at the Splunk base if you've got Cisco infrastructure and Splunk. So next time you have a Cisco device you want to bring on, hopefully that is just completely easy for you. So that's definitely a journey that you've been on, starting with infrastructure, starting the firewalls. You then started to bring in the security team because you could reuse that data and starting to go into a platform approach. I would love to hear about, that's beginning on that theme of collaboration, using data as a common language. What's it been like bringing in an observability strategy to your organization? How's it changed the culture?
Well, it started that all the different teams had different logging sources. So everybody built his own data lake. So, and when we started with the problem-solving topics, they are getting more complex and complex. If you think about having the Angle machines running at the customer side with the edge devices, and you have to drill down a problem from the customer side via our Azure Kubernetes cluster down to our on-premise application, it was very complex. And so this was the time when we made an organizational change, because we converged the Angle internal IT with the Angle custom IT. So we had now a team that was covering all the platform topics, and there we saw it was our first need to get all the logs together, to bring them all together so that we gain visibility for all the different people.
And how long did that take? Because that doesn't sound like a quick process.
It was not a quick process, so it was rather more, we make it available for them, but we did not tell them, you have to now throw away your used logging tool. So we wanted to give them an opportunity. Yeah? And with the opportunity, we got the early adopters, and the early adopters showed use cases, and these were use cases where the others said, hey, that's cool, yeah, let me participate. So it was a long journey. It took us 2 years to be that far, but we are still on the journey.
And I think this is the hardest bit about the modern IT leader. It's not just about the technology and the increasing complexity of technology. You're also expected to do strong stakeholder engagement, change management, changing a culture. So I think it's a definitely tricky job for anyone out there. Richard, and across the developer community, they can be they like their tools. How did you start to go and bring that collaborative approach with observability?
Yeah, it's still tough.
Yeah, you never take a tool off a developer. You can only really add to them normally.
Well, as Manfred said, we tried not to say, now we're using Splunk and you have to use it and yeah, that's it. I think the most important thing was, as I mentioned before as well, to have the management in the back. Yeah. And then provide them the tool for the developers and say, hey, we have there a cool thing, try it out. I don't send you a screenshot where the log message is inside. I give you the link to the log message. And I like most, I had a call with a support guy, our customer support. He did made a screenshot from a log message, and they said, hey, cool, you can have a trace ID out of your browser. Please send us this one. And he did it the next 2-3 times he did it. And then you saw in the bug tickets where all the links are popping up from the Splunk. And that was really nice to see how it's with a lot of talking, a lot of communication, but not at the beginning and on a stage or whatever. Like with this person, that person, and there's someone. So spread it out from the bottom, but have the management in the background so that they come then together. And yeah, it's a long journey and it's still not over. We have still developers like, I don't want to have that. But if more and more people use it and the people see that it's easier, they have alerts on it, they get automated bugs from the alerts, then the collaboration is easier. Yeah, so it's spreading.
So rather than service desk saying, I've created a ticket, it's now your problem, you say it's not my problem, pass it on to someone else, it started to, you're creating curiosity. By sending the link, you can go into the data and start to go and explore around and say, hey, we might be seeing this differently, let's go and have a chat about it, rather than the endless kind of bouncing of tickets that you see around organizations. I was very guilty of that when I was on the service desk years and years and years ago. So we've gone through kind of the layer, bringing data in, kind of firewall, infrastructure data, security, changing a culture with observability. One of the things that Mike talked about was layering ITSI over the top of everything to start to think about a service view. And you mentioned that earlier, the green glass table is the metric you want to see. What was your journey with ITSI like, and kind of what do you focus on?
We started with ITSI at the very lower level. We created an emergency dashboard. Every IT has critical infrastructures. The critical infrastructures are Cisco ISE, the Active Directory, the domain name service, the DHCP. So in case of a problem that involves different teams from Angle, then we started to create this emergency dashboard because we would like to make available everybody the same data and information about what is actually happening. Previously, we had the topic that every team rated a major IT problem very differently. The one said, well, that's a cyber attack. The other said, no, that's just a minor issue. The other said, that's a major problem. Yeah? And so we wanted to get these personal feelings out of the discussion about how critical is an IT problem. So we tried to start this emergency dashboard with ITSI so that we are on the same side of the problem. And we also have the same topics. We know how to deal with the problem. And we know when we have to get a step further. Or to differentiate, is it just an operational issue topic, or is it something that looks like a cyber attack? Yeah?
So really what you described there for me is identifying what's at a functional level, network database, core infrastructure, what are the services that then depend on those, and then what's at the business layer that's customer facing at the top, the consumer side of it. So when something goes wrong, you can start to look up and down the stack. Almost like, do I work on it now, tomorrow, in a week, and the criticality. So again, I think it's the theme of collaboration that I'm hearing coming through, is what this observability journey is being facilitated with technology. The hardest part about this, I think, is data acquisition. How do you go and send data into the platform? You went in with OpenTelemetry. Why OpenTelemetry, Richard? Why did you go and go down that journey?
Well, a couple of years ago, we had a POC for Splunk at that time, and it turned then out that we didn't use Splunk at that time, but we had in place the syslog standard. It's really a couple of years ago.
I remember syslog.
There was no OpenTelemetry at this time, but we made at that time the experience that it's easier to use a standard, that more tools can use it, because the change is easier. When Manfred then and his team added Splunk to Angular again, then we said, yeah, cool, let's do it, because we knew it from back then. And we had the syslog standard, but OpenTelemetry was in place, and we made as well a POC again, tried out, okay, what's new and all that stuff. And we decided at that stage, use OTel, change our applications to try it out, the OTel, try the OTel collector out at the Kubernetes, at some internal on-prem Windows server, that if we don't use Splunk, that we could easily change with the OpenTelemetry. I mean, I'm glad that Splunk turned out, that it's good, and the management said as well, okay, go for it as well.
But that's really cool, because you almost had OpenTelemetry for Splunk and then kind of did it almost in the reverse way. It's great to see, and I think we really believe in that open collection layer, because products change, things will change in the future. It prepares you and it kind of abstracts you from being locked in with even in a vendor with a single product, and you can mature. And so you can go on that journey. So I think it's great you've invested in that, and we're huge committers of OpenTelemetry. I think it is a great piece of technology. The future. There's been lots of talk about the future here. Actually, Richard, maybe we'll start with what we were speaking about earlier when Mike did the demo of the AI assistants for observability. Let's maybe start with that, because we've not talked about AI yet. What do you see your use? You said you're really excited to give it a go. You've not yet tested it. What do you see as your first use case for the AI assistant?
Well, I think it makes it easier. As I said, we have so many different departments who work on different kinds of stuff, and there is somebody calling, hey, I have a problem. And maybe the person even didn't know the tool, what he's talking about, or the application. And I think it makes it easier if you can say, oh, I have the application with, I don't know the name exactly, maybe something like that. Try it out, give it a try, and get some feedback from it. I think it's an opportunity that you not have to know exactly what application or what you're searching for. More it helps you to find the right thing at the right place, and then you can go more deeper inside and even more quicker. Maybe, I don't know, I didn't try it yet. Yeah.
Oh, you did try it. I think it gives an opportunity to increase curiosity. And you send that link over, rather, I'm not quite sure about this app, I don't quite know what data it's got. Just going and starting to ask it questions, and maybe searching out the person that knows about it. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how you adopt that. Manfred, where do you envision the future of observability at Engel?
Well, we saw the integration with 1000 Eyes, and you asked me if we have it available. Yes, we did a POC already with 1000 Eyes, but actually at Engel we have 14,000 Eyes. All our employees, they are much faster than 1000 Eyes could react. So actually it's a challenge between the employees and 1000 Eyes. So if 1000 Eyes can react as fast as our employees, then it might be a chance, and especially if it will get more integrated with Splunk, we could give it a try.
Yeah, and I think see how quick someone can phone. And so we've got our SLA to try and beat now when we start working with you with 1,000 eyes. I think that bringing that holistic view with everything from network all the way up is going to be kind of foundational now for any enterprise. What about you, Richard? We talked about AI, but where do you see the future of observability at Engel from your perspective?
Well, I think first of all we have to really continue with the journey to bring all the data in and bring good alerts and as well to bring more observability to the whole company. Then spread out the data as well to our security guys, to ITSI, to bring data and KPIs to our management, and make the life easier for developers, I would say. That's my personal goal, to make it easier, not to go to 70 server and dig through any log files. I think it's annoying. So.
Yeah, it's great. So the final questions are going to be the same to both of you. What advice would you give to the audience, the things you've learned over this last couple of years that they should think about on starting their observability journey? Let's start with you, Manfred.
Yes, so what we have learned is don't start to put in everything into Splunk and then have a look what we can do with the data we have. We started the other way around. We started use case driven. So we asked ourselves what question should Splunk answer for us. And then we tried to find out what data do we need for that question to be answered with the means of Splunk. And so we get forward step by step, use case by use case with an agile approach. And also we could recommend to have a good partner aside that helps you with all the topics, and also get the most out of Splunk's human resources and services to provide to customers.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I think try to not, as I said before, here you have the tool, go for it. Leave the experience for the developers, leave the choice for them, lead them, and data is cool. You need a lot of data, and you have to work together as well with the infrastructure to get all the data. But don't forget about the people. The people, I think, is the people and their minds, and then how they work, how they react, how they interact, and then between them. I think that's the most important thing about observability. Yeah.
So people, then process, then technology.
Exactly.
I really like that. So Richard, Manfred, thank you so much for sharing your story at Engel with me today. Go a huge round of applause for them, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So it's an incredible story, what we really hear from Engel, that whole journey. We work with a lot of customers around the world. I just got three of my favorite examples because they're using different parts of the portfolio. So Travelport, they work with around about 100 travel providers, 165 countries around the world. So complex infrastructure. They lacked a holistic view. So what they started to work with is Oli Cloud to start to bring in that data, but then they didn't have the experience in-house. So they worked with our assigned expert service to go and help that onboarded. And they managed to reduce their false positives by 95%, and their mean time to detect reduced by 75%. Rappi in Latin America, a huge popular on-demand delivery service across 250 cities. COVID hit, no one could go to the supermarket, and the increase they had in their service was over 300%. So they were in almost disaster mode, trying to make sure that was available with that huge surge. So they started with Splunk Clouds because that allowed them to go and get quickly up to speed, get that deployed. They didn't have to think about infrastructure providing that, and then augmented that with Observability Cloud to reduce their MTTR by 90%. And then one with a fact and figure. Carnival Cruises, slightly off on the slide there. We almost got there on the slides. Downtime to them costs about $1 million per hour. Imagine being that person that gets that page or that alert to say something's gone wrong, and your boss is looking at $1 million per hour just flying out of the windows. So they really had to go and do something about that. So they needed real time, they needed to be proactive across infrastructure and applications. They're an incredibly huge organization with complexity inside of that. And so what they were using was AppDynamics to be able to go and take an APM view, a business service view, along with Thousand Eyes to look at their owned infrastructure, the third-party infrastructure they're looking at, to get that complete vision. So when something went wrong, they could go and look at the right place and save time, because $1 million an hour, time is absolutely critical to be able to jump on that, and they reduce their MTTR by 50%. So really going and working on that. I think for me, my takeaway, listening to the wonderful kind of advice from Manfred and Richard, Mike talking about the complexity and how we're bringing products to go and do that, is prioritizing not just monitoring, but thinking about this overall digital resilience, and how do we go and support business continuity is more important than ever. We're doing it with Splunk, we've been doing it for a long time, we're going to continue doing that and bringing you more and more of these integrations to be able to do this with ease, so you can go and spend less time kind of fighting a system and more time thinking about your innovation velocity. So thank you very much for being with me. I've really enjoyed talking, and please come and ask us any questions afterwards. Thank you very much.